Are there any big things you see affecting your area in 2024? So this isn't real estate related, okay? I just have to share with you guys. So, do you guys know what the oldest indoor arena is in the U.S.?
Nope.
Is it Holt Arena?
The Holt Arena is the oldest enclosed arena on a college campus. Hey everybody, I hope that you guys enjoyed our first podcast video of the Idaho Insight Group with myself. My name is Marek Davis. We got Cody Fenske, he's up in northern Idaho, and Zachary Martin, who's in the Treasure Valley, Boise, Idaho area. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our first episode that we came out with. We were trying to provide some information about our local areas, and today we have some more awesome information that we're going to share with you guys. So I guess let's have Cody started off as your introduction. Go for it.
So pretty much I cover the Coeur d'Alene area is what everyone would know, the biggest town up here. But I work all the way state lines, Washington over to Montana, Canada, down to Lewiston, Idaho. So that's the area that I'm at. Welcome back.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, it's Zach Martin here again. I'm here in Boise, Idaho. Some other popular areas, of course, are Meridian, Eagle, Star, and Nampa and Caldwell as well. I'm excited to kick off another podcast with Marek and Cody today.
I am in the Pocatello, Idaho Falls. Some other areas that you guys may know of is Rexburg, Idaho, Island Park, Idaho. That is the areas that I cover, as well as south as Bear Lake, Lava Hot Springs area. So that's the areas that I personally cover. Today, one of the things that we wanted to discuss with you guys is our market updates from 2023. So as many of you guys know, 2023, and you guys can attest to this, but 2023 was a year that we didn't really expect in terms of interest rates, right? So, and the interest rates played a pivotal part in buyers being able to afford to buy properties, as well as sellers being able to sell their properties for what they were able to maybe a year or two ago, right?
Yeah. Northern Idaho is funny this year. It's so everyone knows based on just these interest rates were probably a huge factor, the biggest factor, and I've seen a little bit different story up here. It's still bad as far as like pending sales and things. Things dropped off a bit, but we didn't see the kind of things we would have expected, right? With that, you would think it would have just prices would plummet, and we haven't seen that at all, actually. So we did have a little bit of a drop off. So as far as closed sales, we had 3,793, and that's actually only down. It is down a little bit, down 13.3%. So we had 4,373 last year. So it's not this stark difference that people think of, but it is a bit of a drop off. The stuff that's weird though is when prices come into it, because we actually ended up going up in price just a little bit. But we'll get into that a little bit more. So inventory obviously is up, which is great. That was the biggest thing I saw this year is, inventory is rough everywhere, it seems, but we actually had a huge increase in inventory where we were up to about 1,950 properties on the market at the highest point in summer, which our absorption rate before was so darn high. For the last few years, I was seeing 300, 400, 500 properties on the market. So we went up dramatically. Now, the exact number would be just that closing out, we had 943 for residential. So we're back down quite a bit. We're dropping. The last month has been crazy. We had over 200 transactions this last month alone. For listings, we would have people coming in and finally starting to realize lately that they need to drop that price. And that's what started to kind of take effect there. So days on market were up a lot. That was the big thing. That's what gave the illusion or gave the impression that you could come in and get a house for whatever you want. And you could negotiate. There were some places that were negotiating really hard because they came in way too high. But our days on market jumped up to 90. So it was 75 last year. So it's went up a little bit. Things are sitting on the market a little bit. But like you said, Marek, it's difficult for people not only to sell that house because of the amount of buyers that are pushed out of the market, but now you have someone, you're asking them to trade out a 3% interest rate for a 8%, right, at that time. So that was a hard pill to swallow, and that's what kind of held back from people listing. But and people buy it. It's like, I know countless people who are just like, I'm not going anywhere yet, right? As far as prices, so I talked about the increase of it's 0.4% is all we had, so pretty much on par, but it's just funny that it actually dipped up a little bit. Last year, it was our average sale price was $681,123. Now it's $684,067. So those are bigger numbers than what we'll see for like a starter home. But then again, we're dealing with these communities that have, you know, Black Rock and Geyser and these golf communities up here where you got $14 million homes. So that's why a lot of people are bouncing over to the median, because the average is pretty skewed, right? On the median, you see a little bit of a different story. We did see a price decrease on the median, and that was down 3.8%. So went from 550 down to 529. So a little bit of deals to be had, but not what people think. A lot of times people are thinking it was a bigger year because of where they're at, I guess, their particular markets. For us, we felt it, but more than anything, we just felt it through pending sales. Things were sitting around, which was weird for us to watch, or a lot of places that would list. I mean, going over to the pending, let me find the pending page. So we had, for new listings coming out, I mean, we listed 6,389 of them this year, but we only sold 3,940. Sorry, that was pended 3,974, and then actually sold was 3,793, right? So it's like a 50% on that. So that's what definitely emboldened buyers to go and just be really aggressive. And sellers weren't quite ready for the first part of the year, so it was really stagnant until the back half, and then it really picked up. But
yeah, one thing that I think that kind of similar between your market and my market is 2022 and 2023. Yeah, it was a slight drop off, but it wasn't drastic, right? Yeah, it was still, you know, kind of on par. Now, one thing I do want to share with you guys is the data that I had just pulled was all my MLS. I forgot to put a thing, put a filler in there. So let me just read these stats one more time, just so the camera picks it up, so Jeremy can cut out what I initially said. So the average sales price of single family homes was $379,000. The median was $341,000. Average days on market was 81 days. For condos and townhomes was $257,000 for an average sold price, and the median was $232,000. And, you know, the average days on market for condos and townhomes was 66 days. So, I mean, that's still kind of similar to what I had initially said with, you know, all the MLS. So, but Zach, let's hear what the Treasure Valley is doing right now, man. I'm really curious to see, because, I mean, you guys have had a crazy boom over the last 5 years, so I want to hear it.
Absolutely. So I'll start off with Ada County. I ran my numbers a little bit different, a little broader on kind of where our market's at. We had over 7,500 single-family listings get sold in Ada County alone, in comparison to Canyon County, which had around 4,300 single-family homes. Now, when you add townhouses and condos, of course, those numbers go up even more. But just for this purpose, I went with single-family homes. We had over $4.5 billion in sold real estate in Ada County alone. When I read that number, I had to, you know, clean my eyes a little bit, you know, after this eye surgery, make sure I was reading it right. And sure enough, I was reading it right. Our median price was around $520,000, and our average was a little over $535,000 here in Ada County. Now, if we flip over to Canyon County, on the other hand, the average price I was looking at was in the low fours, like 400 to 405, median a little below that. And Canyon County still came in at over $2 billion in sold real estate. So in the two biggest counties in the whole state of Idaho, we had over $6.5 billion in real estate sold. I don't know what amount you guys have up in your areas, but that number is pretty hard to believe, considering, you know, I'm a lifelong Idahoan, and to see where the prices on homes are, we really didn't see the prices drop as much as we thought they would with interest rates. Again, I mean, we still sold just in those 2 counties alone over 11,800 single family homes. So if you divide, 365 days divided by that, you're averaging just under 3.5 homes a day being sold, and if we exclude weekends, obviously that number goes up. So I anticipate similar numbers now that we've seen rates trend down a little bit, but I'm seeing a lot more new construction go a lot quicker. And the last thing I'll say is days on market was in the mid 40s to low 50s, depending on the purchase price from the data that I gathered today on the MLS.
Marek, how did new construction perform this last year in your area?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me pull that up for you, let me pull that up real quick, and I can see. So, are you more asking about how much inventory of new construction hit the market this last year? Or?
I'm just kind of curious because, so like Zach said, I had the same kind of. He mentioned new construction, and it just dawned on me. New construction is worth talking about because that is where we felt the biggest effect here. It was absolutely wild how competitive builders got. I mean, they were coming in and they were offering stuff they haven't offered for years. They're undercutting the heck out of each other, right? And you have just the normal seller who's, again, sitting on maybe a 3% interest rate or whatever they're at, and now you're asking them to sell at, an 8%. Buyers aren't going to get what they want on that, on getting people to list. It's just not going to happen. So buyers were going over to new builders because that's really the only stuff that was coming out at a fair price, because builders are already sitting on these lots that they need to liquidate, right? They aren't going to sit on this thing. They can't. They just simply can't, right? When you have one build coming up to pay for the other builds. So
one thing I can just provide, just off the top of my head, when you ask that question, one of the number one builders in our area, he was offering lease to own option on, a couple of his builds, just because I think that he had built so much that, he probably had so much money going out per month with his expenses that he needed to, have some help with, covering those costs, right? But in terms of new construction, so new construction to me is any property that was built 22 or after, right? So 2022 or after. So we currently have 40 new constructions on the market. There's 8 that are under contract. We had. My bad. Let me rewind here. So there was a total of 223 new construction properties. There is 32 that are active that are single family dwellings. And then we have 6 condos. There is 2 that are under contract with contingencies. And then there is a total of 8 that are pending. And then there was a total of 175 that actually sold. So for new construction in my area, it's probably a lot more affordable than in, the Treasure Valley or up in northern Idaho, but you guys can attest with me on that. So the average sold price of new construction was $532,000, and the median was $475,000, with an average days on market of 131 days. Now for condos, of course, it's going to be different. There was so out of the 14 condos that sold, the average sold price was $331,000 and a median sales price of $295,000, and with an average days on market of 69 days. So, when we talk about new construction in our area, I mean, now I'm curious to see, what's going on in your market, because I know a lot of the builders out here are offering, $20,000 incentives to buy down the buyer's interest rate or help cover closing costs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is you can push them so far, and if they don't like it, fine, I'll go over to your competitor right down the road, right? And they're building. The developments, of course, come in with multiple builders all in the same community, right? So you're in the same HOA, you could be on the same street right next door, but it's your competitor in a builder, right? So they take it a lot more serious as far as, we got to get these things sold. We got to be able to, again, get money from this build to pay for our projects over there, right? So we started seeing that, where before, they were cutting everything out. They started cutting, hey, we're not doing backyard landscaping, we're not doing fencing, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, right? And
Not
then-
doing rain gutters,
Yeah,
not doing AC.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
just wouldn't offer
And now they're throwing it all in.
Yeah, and it was that. And I mean, when, a few years ago, it was, okay, here you go, take my money anyway, right? And they knew they could just get away with anything. And then this year, not only did they start to bring some of that back upon negotiation, it's not just going to happen. They aren't just going to offer it to them, right? I had some people walk in the door and buy straight from them. Well, of course, they're not just going to give it to you. They might have the incentives. Now, they'll put up on their website, hey, we're giving a $10,000 incentive. Our preferred lender will give this much, right? But the amount of leeway there is to come in and just push them really, really hard. I had some absolutely phenomenal negotiations with them because they're like, yeah, we'll buy down your rate. We'll give you, a lower price. Plus we'll build the fence and we'll put in the landscaping and we'll give you everything. Just come to us. Right. And so they actually upped their listings this year. So for new construction specifically in my area, we went up by 23.3% this year, right? They didn't know. They start these projects before the interest rate does anything. And the next thing they know, they're just pumping these houses out in expectation that it's going to be another year like it was, 2021, 2022. And then they're sitting on these things and getting nervous. So,
Well, I think too, because the demand is still there, right? So I feel like it was all pent up. They were like, we've had these crazy years, the last 2 years where there wasn't enough inventory, right? So then they started building at an excessive rate to keep up with the demand. But when the interest rates came into play, people couldn't afford what they were asking for on these properties. And they started doing these major price reductions and offering all these incentives that we're talking about.
yeah. Yeah. And like I was mentioning too, like as far as price drops, I mean, for their median, they went down 7.3, right? Versus previously owned were 2. So that's again, not including credits, right? This is sale price. So that doesn't have the credits put in there, or that doesn't have the improvements put in there, the fence and the landscaping, which is more value added in. What they did start to do, and I would just caution anyone who's still looking at it, because now we're still seeing it as builds come throughout 2024, is the quality where they can cut corners without you knowing is really starting to, we're seeing quality issues for sure. And I think it's just a matter of, again, we know now we can't sell this house at the price we could. We're going to have to offer incentives. We're going to have to cut the price. So let's go ahead and change this out from quartz to a laminate countertop, or let's do, whatever they can do to just go ahead and make it a little bit cheaper. And then quality issues, I guess just because of the sheer volume and there's only so many subcontractors, we're having weird issues. Like you got water coming in through windows on a home that was just built this year. Then you got to get them back out under warranty, and they say, oh, it's not warranted. It's our subs that warranty the windows. You got to contact the window subs, and then they come out finally a month from now. But now you got drywall and paint issues inside, right? Because you had water intrusion. So now you got to contact other subs, and it's just become this like headache working with them. But, as long as you hold their hand and you make sure that things are being done properly, really on top of them, it actually can be a good deal for a lot of people. But we have seen that too. Quality issues seem to really pick up this year.
So who's the number one builder in your market?
Depends which builder you ask. They're going to tell you them, right?
Well, so let me ask you this question. So in terms, if you think about the quantity and the quality, who would be your, what's one builder that you personally like?
So Hayden Homes and Viking Homes are the two that pump out probably the most, right? Those two are just, they're the middle tier homes. They don't try to brand themselves as the highest quality necessarily. They're like, hey, this is an affordable home. We're pumping these things out, normal 3.2s, 4.2, or 4.2s, just basic homes that somewhere in that price point of 400, even like down as 370, right? You got some at 370 from Viking, and then you go all the way up to 550, 600 maybe, but they don't push past that. And then you got the guys who think they're premium, the Arch Terra or the people like Greenstone, and they're pushing more of those high 5, at least low 5s to 6s and even 7s, right? But as far as builders go, honestly, I don't trust any. Maybe it's a control issue, right? It's not that there are some good builders. There are, right? I've worked enough with all of them and seen issues from everyone that I think people forget the value of going in there and holding them very, very accountable, like very accountable, right? Especially the people who buy from out of the area and they don't have an agent going in on a blue tape walkthrough or tearing that property apart to make sure that these people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then you just come across these issues.
Well, that's one thing that we can always share light with buyers is it is important to have an agent to be doing these walkthroughs, right? To help them gain a better understanding because, you know, like we're talking about, you know, we know these builders. We've worked with these builders, so we know which builder is going to probably do a better job than the other builder, right? I think like when I think of probably my favorite builder in Pocatello, Bannock County specifically, you know, I always vert to like, you know, Satterfield Construction or Satterfield Builders. They probably build the higher end properties here in Pocatello. A lot of their properties, you know, they range maybe on the low fives to mid fives up to $1 million. I know Dave Coffin with DM Builders. He's one of the other better builders in our area, but he doesn't build a lot of houses. You know, I mean, my bad. He does build a lot of houses. He just doesn't stretch himself out so thin that he can't manage each project. 'Cause he's very much hands-on these projects. So like if I were to have someone build me a home right now, which I'm actually personally looking at doing, I'd probably have Dave Coffin or even, you know, Satterfield Builders build me a home. That's just a personal preference. There's nothing against any of the other builders. I just know that those builders, they're very, you know, attention oriented when they build properties, and you can see that with their quality of work.
Well, and I definitely have builders like that, like you're mentioning some of these, you know, smaller, more custom builders. I mean, these guys that I mentioned, they're pumping out spec homes. You couldn't even get them to do a custom. At best, you'll get to choose your colors, right? Your countertops or your paint. But
we have a builder out here that's like that. Rockwell, I would say, is, you know, very much like that. Gate City Builders, they pump out a lot of houses. There's nothing wrong with, you know, I don't have anything bad to say because I don't want to, you know, I don't want them to watch this video and be like, yeah, I don't want to get that call. But, you know, it all comes back to, you know, when you are doing new construction, you want to make sure you're having a quality built home. So definitely, if anybody's watching this video, if you have questions about building a home or buying new construction, we have very good resources to help you throughout Idaho. So, Zach, take it away. I want to hear what's going on in Boise with the new construction.
All right, so there's a lot going on. We're always building, whether it be commercial, residential, industrial, agricultural. There's always something going on. I'll just piggyback with what you guys said. Of course, you know, we have those builders that pump out hundreds to 1,000 homes a year, and then we have those more custom homes. But again, it all comes down to affordability and what each and every individual client is actually looking for. CBH Homes, which is Corey Barton Homes, he's done a lot in the community. You know, he's got his incentives where he's got his own selling crew and advertising, so agents can't advertise or, you know, do anything for them because they do all of that themselves. But they've been pumping out incentives anywhere between $10,000 to $45,000 on their houses, and they're anywhere between, you know, $340,000 to like $580,000-ish a home. And, you know, people know what they're getting themselves into. It's a quality home. I mean, it's not top tier. It's got a lot of the basic, you know, appliances and finishings to it. But again, he's bringing the affordability to the Treasure Valley, you know. And as far as like my personal favorite go-to builders, I like Boise and Hunter Homes, but they're pretty expensive. Zach Evan Homes, Hallmark Homes, Sunrise Homes. Those are some of my favorites. But, you know, when it comes time to build, you know, I just ran into a situation where a loan officer said, hey, I've got a buyer that wants to buy. He's going to do new construction. He actually lives in the subdivision that's being, the next phase is going up, and he's renting. He doesn't see why he needs an agent. Hearing things like what Cody shared about water coming into the windows and causing drywall issues, that type of stuff, that's the exact reason, because some builders, not saying anyone personally, but some builders have been known to cut corners to save money. But a lot of the builders up here in Boise have been very intelligent over the years and paying attention to how many permits to pull, how many not to pull. And they know the incentives they're giving, they're still going to make their money because they're still going to mark up certain things, and they're smart at what they do. But I've seen a few corners cut personally, but because, you know, I told my buyers to get home inspections. we were able to address those, and the builders were pretty quick about fixing those issues. There was no pointing fingers or any bad blood by any means between me, my clients, or the builder or their agent. We all came to terms, but, to tie it all in with this potential buyer I have, his concern is, why do I need to have a buyer's agent? And for many reasons, again, we're able to advocate for them and make sure things are being done how we expect the builder to build the homes and not cut corners because the market's where it's at. So I think with new construction, it's going to be a big move next year, just like it was back in 2023. And I'm excited to be dipping more into the new construction industry myself.
Yeah. What about 2024 new construction? You see that continuing or picking up even, or what else is going on in your area down in Boise and whatnot for 2024?
I think a lot's going to pick up. I mean, just Jeremy coming down, and he can attest to this. Every time it comes down, there's something new being built, whether it's apartments, new title companies, Top Golf, In and Out's already looking to buy their next 2 properties. They got close to one in Boise, but unfortunately that one's not going to work out, so they're going to be looking somewhere else, what it sounds like. But just as far as like single family, comparing single family new built homes to, older homes or even a couple years old, it's pretty similar. So why not get a new construction home that comes with a warranty? You're the first one to do anything and everything you can imagine in the house, versus buying a house that, has been utilized by someone else. And, these builders are going to continue to pull permits. We're continuing to see public hearings going up all throughout the areas. We're seeing roads being, how do we say this? Sorry, I'm gonna have to cut this out. We're seeing roads, being widened, and we're seeing more traffic. We're seeing property taxes go up. We're seeing a lot going up because people see a future in Boise. There's a lot of investors and there's a lot of land developers that are itching to build and get into new construction. And I truthfully think that the numbers we had in 2023 were pretty nice, but I think 2024 is going to outdo it by far.
What about you, Marek? Do you see the same thing? You think new construction is going to kind of lead the pack in 2024 or what?
It's hard to say. In my opinion, just where there's still a high demand in our area, you would think that we're going to see more new construction hit the market just with the demand. But when I look at things, I feel like there's probably a lot of builders in my area that may kind of hold, not hold off completely, of course, but maybe slow down a little bit because the average days on market was a long time, this year, and a lot of houses sat for a while. So it's a hard question to ask me, that one, to be honest with you, for our area. And another thing too, like, I know that there's multiple subdivisions, so let's rewind. Let me ask this question correctly. There is multiple subdivisions that have lots still vacant, right? So I do feel like we are going to see a lot of new construction hitting the market this year and in next year. And I think especially with once the interest rates do start to, come down a little bit, that's going to help make things more affordable. That's going to allow more people to afford these new construction homes. So I feel like a lot of builders that are, kind of following the market and the trends, they're probably gearing up to get ready for that demand. So
yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that I think there is going to be some slowing down. I think, again, they start these projects so early, right? And so they're ahead of it on the development. They've acquired their lots. They're pulling permits. Especially here, I'm sure it's for you guys as well, but winter is a big consideration on building and what can you exactly get done. And there's certain limitations, right? Just for the weather. Not even if it's snow, but it's just cold enough that paint and stuff isn't going to work. You're trying to do concrete and freezing temperatures and whatnot. So it's one of those where I think that there was a lesson learned by a lot of builders. I don't think it's going to drop off by any means. I don't even know if it might just maintain. I just don't expect it to ramp up. If anything, I expect them to pull back a little bit, say, hey guys, maybe we sell some of these off before we start taking on new projects, right? Because they did have more. They were over leveraged, a lot of them. And so I think that they're going to learn their lesson a little bit there. And we've already started to see a flip too where people are starting to lean towards previously owned homes again, because now finally the rates are a little bit better for the people selling, and they're in a situation where they're like, look, I get it. I had a 3 interest rate, right? But now I got to take a 6.5. Well, it's a whole lot better than an 8. At least that's, you can tolerate that a little bit if you have enough of a reason to move. And if you have a situation where you're like, I just had another kid and this house just isn't enough, and we understand it's going to be a higher payment, but we're going to just go ahead and go for it, right? So I'm starting to see that where people are willing to list their homes and make that move. They don't love it, but the 6 is, probably a new normal, more or less, right? 5.5 to 6.5, somewhere in there over the next year. So I think people are starting to understand, look, I need to make this move. I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. And then at the same time, you have the quality issues and just even the track homes that are being built. I mean, in my area, at least, we're not talking about custom builders, because that's a whole different thing. But if I'm talking about the actual builders that are pumping out homes, they're these spec homes that just don't have the character. They don't have a decent sized lot. You're right up next to people. You don't go to North Idaho generally to be bumped up to your neighbor and have no land and have no yard. And, you have CC&Rs and HOAs on everything, where you have something that's even 10, 20 years old. There's no HOA. There's no one telling you what to do. You have mature trees that have been growing for the last 15, 20 years. It's a pretty area. You got 1/4 acre lot, 5th acre lot, something like that.
Adding to what you just said about people wanting to buy existing versus new, like if I were in the market to buy a $400,000 home right now, right? I could go buy a new construction home on like 0.14 of an acre. I can touch my neighbor, both sides. I can be washing my dishes while I'm looking at my neighbor washing my dishes, right? Or I can go buy a $400,000 home that was built between 2000 and 2010 on a 1/4 acre to 3/4 of an acre lot with a double car garage and possibly having the RV parking opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people want the new, right? Which I get it. I want new. But when you're looking at buying a home, I think it's important to have space. For me, I like the space. So that's something that I feel like a lot of people are going to have to continue to juggle between buying new versus buying old for as time goes on. Because as time goes on, land is going to deplete. So they're going to start having to condense to doing these tiny houses shoulder to shoulder eventually as we go on in life, which there is a tiny home development going on in Pocatello right now. So,
and we've definitely seen that. Yeah, we've already seen it where people are starting to. That's why I brought it up, because I'm just my conversations with people, unless you're a first-time home buyer and you just are trying to get something, generally speaking, people who are at a point in their life where they can afford something that isn't new, they actually are going for it. Even though the new homes, yeah, they're nice and attractive, but you can change your countertops. You can get the place deep cleaned. You can do all kinds of stuff to an existing home. But man, that location, when you're in a tight little neighborhood surrounded by just a bunch of track homes, and that's not appealing, especially when we have so much beautiful nature you could be near, right? In my particular area, it's like, no, I want to be next to Canfield Mountain, or I want to be next to the river or whatever. Those are just always, that's what you want to go to if you can, but I don't know. We'll see.
So before we end this meeting, we had one other thing. The other thing was, are there any big things you see affecting your area in 2024? So this isn't real estate related, okay? I just have to share with you guys. So, do you guys know what the oldest indoor arena is in the U.S.?
Nope.
Is it the Holt Arena?
The Holt Arena is the oldest enclosed arena on a college campus. The oldest arena is the Astrodome, but that's not on a college campus. So the Holt Arena is the oldest indoor enclosed arena on a college campus throughout the U.S. So ICCU did a major renovation, and now they have the rights to the name of the Holt Arena, which is now called, as of like 20 minutes ago, the ICCU Dome. So go Bengal.
Wow, I was just reading that article because it's been, just to shed light on that, Jared Allen from, I think he played for the Minnesota Vikings, actually played.
Yeah, he played for the
Idaho State
Vikings and he
University.
played for the Chiefs.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. I mean, out with the old, with the new. I mean, it's going to take a while to change. I mean, we used to have Taco Bell Arena here at Boise State. Now I think it's the Mile High Arena. Yeah. You know, but that's good for Pocatello. And wasn't it like a $6 million levy grant or something?
Yeah, which I think they should have probably negotiated for more, but that's just me speaking. But they also did dump millions of dollars into renovating that, and they didn't even own it, so.
Which is good for the community.
Go Bengals. We are going to be a contender in the Big Sky one day, I promise.
What do you got, Zach? You got anything big going on in 2024?
I mean, there's a lot of big things. I mean, I'm just having a lot of positivity, you know, going to this year. It's a little different than what Marek said, but I think the big thing that we're going to be faced as a community here in Ada County, Kenyon County, is just affordability, not just in housing, but just in general affordability, because as we all know, when you have growth pains come with it. So we as a community have to come together and find ways to help each other. And so I think that's the biggest thing in this year coming up is just, well, in this year in 2024, is just coming together and finding out ways to help one another battle adversity and overcome it.
Yeah. With mine, I mean, I would, as far as just our community, there's nothing major. I mean, yeah, we have a sheriff election coming up here in Kootenai County, which is where Coeur d'Alene's at. So keep your eye on that, right? Sheriffs have a lot of control locally. And so there's some of that stuff where people are pretty engaged politically on, you know, local politics out here. So we have some of that. Of course, we have the, you know, actual federal election, the national election, right? Which no one's going to be, we're not going to care up here. We're too small to matter anyway, right? Idaho as a whole. But then, you know, for the people who are watching, or if you're looking at buying or something, it's going to be interest rates, and that's what's going to hit all of us, right? We're all going to feel that. One of the other things is, so like that Fannie Mae Freddie Mac change where they came in and allowed less money down on multifamilies. We've seen that take pretty big effect when that hit, you know, end of November. I knew that was going to be a thing. And sure enough, you know, I had 3 clients right around that time who, when that change happened, I was like, we need to buy these multifamilies. That's what they were already looking for. And we need to get them right at that point or before, ideally, if we have the money for it, because of course it used to be much more money down, but 20% down, and it switches over to, you know, 5% down for multifamilies, so duplexes and triplexes and fourplexes. And so we've seen a huge uptick on prices for those. I think those are going to all but dry up this year because of that. So like investors, beware there if you're looking at multifamilies. And then I think it's just going to be a big year. I think all this pent-up demand, we've already started to see it. This year has just been wild. This winter has been the busiest I've seen for years. And so I think spring's going to continue that based on those interest rate drops. And then right before the election, I think it would be the next best time to buy. If you weren't buying before spring, then right before the election, you know, historically people kind of like to sit on their hands and just hold their money and wonder, I don't know what's going on, right? And so that's probably going to be a pretty good time as well. It'll probably be the lowest point for interest rates. I think prices will be a little bit lower probably just because people, again, they're just waiting to see what happens. But who knows? No crystal ball. So I would guess that that's how it's going to go. But I'm interested to see how the year plays out. It's going to be an interesting one for sure.
I appreciate everybody that continues to support Cody, Fenske, Zachary Martin, and myself, Marek Davis. We want to be the go-to resource for all your real estate needs in Idaho. And if you have any questions about anything, like what are good schools or, you know, best coffee shops, best restaurants, I want you guys to reach out to us. Comment below on the YouTube channel. You know, reach out to us directly, whatever you guys need to do. Our contact information is going to be displayed on all these videos. You can call us or text us. You know, we don't buy it, so reach out.
Take care, guys.
Have a good one.
Peace out, guys.